The following program is sponsored by Adams Financial Concepts.
About money, a different approach to investing you won't hear anywhere else. Your host, Mike Adams, is a registered investment advisor and works with investment portfolios exceeding over $100,000 in net worth and has a proven track record of managing long-term investments surpassing the markets in the long term. The information shared on the following program is for educational purposes only, and any investment advice given may not be suitable for all investors. And now, here's Mike.
Good afternoon. It's Friday, and we're going to be talking about money. As you can tell, I'm not Mike Adams. I'm Michael Prentice, and I work with Mike at Adams Financial Concepts. Mike will not be joining us today. So I've done the show, I think, 3 or 4 times now, but I'm not going to lie, it kind of stresses me out a little bit. And I tend to lose my voice halfway through. So bear with me. I'm going to try a different format. Usually I just write kind of an essay and just kind of read it. But I just kind of made notes today, so I'm just going to go from there. Back in April, the Department of Labor proposed a new fiduciary standard rule. Basically, under the new proposed definition, an individual who provides investment advice or recommendations to any employee benefit plan, plan fiduciary, plan participant, or beneficiary, IRA, or IRA owner would be treated as a fiduciary. This means that more financial professionals would be considered fiduciaries when it comes to retirement accounts. So this last week, they opened it up to public comments, to a public hearing, and they had over 900 responses, and most of them were opposing the rule. There's a lot of people looking at it and saying that they shouldn't pass it, that they're just trying to confuse. It's just going to be confusing, and that a lot of people just won't understand it, and that they're trying to basically create a rule, revise a rule that's already in place that they haven't been able to enforce in the past. Now, most of the opposition's stances are weak, and the DOL said that they're going to revise the current rule as it's written now. They're going to open it up to a second public hearing in a few weeks. But most likely the rule is going to be pushed through, as Obama is backing the rule and has said that he wants this to go through, and he thinks that people that are working and helping you save towards your retirement shouldn't be able to make money through hidden fees and transactions, and they should be looking out for your best interest and not their own. They're really trying to push the rule through before the end of Obama's administration, which, as we know, is the end of next year. Analysts are saying that this could be passed as soon as the first quarter of 2016. Everything I've read and everyone that talks about it says that this is most likely going to come into effect. It's just what they're going to revise and go through and figure out what the final say is going to be. That's kind of what we're waiting on. Now, one of the oppositions that, like I said before, is that they're trying to pass a rule that's been in place for 75 years. Like, there's some revisions to it, but for the most part, it's basically they're reiterating the Investment Company Act of 1940, which says that an individual that provides financial advice for a fee is held to a fiduciary standard. Simply stated, financial advisors have a legal obligation to put the investor's interest first. So that's essentially what the DOL is trying to accomplish with the rule. The only difference is that not all financial professionals are governed by the Investment Company Act of 1940, including ones that work with the retirement plans. So this new rule would make it so everyone that's working inside of retirement plan space would have to act as a fiduciary, not just those that are governed under the Investment Company Act of 1940. The ones that don't act on, that aren't under the Investment Act of 1940 are called brokers. They're governed by the Securities Act of 1934, and they're not held to the same standards as financial advisors. Now, brokers have a suitability standard. They only have to make sure that a product is suitable for their clients based on the individual's specific situation. Whereas an advisor has to follow the fiduciary rule and act in their best interest. So brokers also have an obligation to their brokerage firms as well as their clients. So this can create a big conflict of interest. So for example, if a broker has a client and they've done their suitability tests, they're going after it, they find two similar products that are both suitable for their client. Now, product A has low fees and it's a better option for the client, but it's only going to pay the broker $100 in commission. And now product B contains higher fees, but would provide $1,000 in commission. Now, since both products are suitable, the broker may only recommend product B to his client because it's going to pay him more money, it's going to get his brokerage firm more money, and you may never hear about product A. Now, not all brokers, this is not going to happen with all brokers, but some brokers, that's just the way that they do business. So whose interest are they really looking out for in that situation? Are they looking out for their clients, or are they looking out for their own best interest? Now, an advisor would keep the interest of their clients ahead of their own interests. So they're going to go after ones that have lower fees and that are better options for the clients. Basically, brokers sell products and advisors sell advice. So do you know if you are currently working with a broker or an advisor? Or do you not know? So some time ago, the lines got blurred between fiduciaries and brokers. You don't see many people today with stockbroker on their business cards anymore. It may say financial advisor, financial specialist, financial representative, or some other form of that saying. So this has become very confusing to consumers to understand really what the difference is. And to make it worse, a lot of companies are marketing themselves in a way that make consumers think they're putting their clients' best interests first. Don't want to get into the details or call any companies out on this, but it's happening in the industry all over the place. The problem with that, though, is that when things go wrong, these companies they make you think like they're acting in your best interest and that they are in a fiduciary capacity. But when things go wrong and now they go into arbitration, their defenses don't have to say that they don't have to follow a fiduciary standard, that they only need to follow a suitability standard. So yes, the DOL is pursuing something that does already exist, a rule that's already out there, but it doesn't apply to everyone working in retirement plans. And this is really important because most people's largest shares of assets are held inside of a retirement account. Whether it's a pension, a 401k, or an IRA. In fact, most brokerage houses won't allow their brokers to be fiduciaries on retirement plans, specifically 401k plans, because they don't want the legal responsibilities that come along with it. They don't want to open themselves up to litigation and being sued over the wrong investments inside of a plan. So they leave that to the fiduciaries of the plan, which are typically the business owners or like an investment committee and so forth. Now, so if the rule passes, the major change is going to be to the IRAs. Because right now, a financial professional may recommend a 401k rollover into an IRA. Now, in most cases, an IRA will be a suitable option for a rollover. However, it may not be the best option. So right now, a broker-dealer advisor can go in and they can make a recommendation that you should roll over your old 401k from a previous employer into an IRA, which could be the best option for you, but it may not be, because a lot of times they're doing this without knowing anything about your current 401k plan, because they're not the advisor on the plan. They don't know the details of it. They don't know what fees are involved. They don't know what level of service you're getting or that's provided, and they may not have the fund options that are available inside the plan. So they can't really compare what the new IRA, the fees that are going to be involved in the IRA with what's going on in your current 401k plan. So you could have less fees in the 401k than the IRA and vice versa. But without knowing all of that, they can't be going after your best interest without knowing that information. So it could be better to stay in an old plan, or it could be better to roll it into a new employer's 401k plan. But the new rule, as it is right now, would require a fiduciary role in order to make that transaction. So they're obligated to make the best option for the clients. So broker-dealers are also worried that they would be forced to transition to a fee-based model on IRA accounts and not a commission-based model that they're currently using now. So right now, a lot of times when they move you into an IRA, or you have an IRA account, you may go into an insurance product, or they may roll it into a mutual fund family, or whatever the case may be. But a lot of times you can be limited with that. Like in an annuity product or insurance type product, you may have higher fees than you were paying in your 401k or that you would be paying with a typical IRA. Or if they're putting you into a direct mutual fund, you could be paying an upfront sales charge, such as in an A-share, that you wouldn't have inside your 401k. And also with the mutual funds, a lot of times they're selling you into one mutual fund family, so you're not getting an option to diversify outside of that fund family. You're just limited to that specific fund family, which could limit your investment options that are available to you. And then they also feel that the transaction would ultimately deter broker-dealers from providing advice and services to lower and middle market accounts, leaving lower income Americans without access to advice. But we'll talk more about that when we get back. Coming up to a commercial break, and we'll be right back.
Stay tuned. About Money returns in a moment with your host, Mike Adams, here on Business Radio 1300 KKOL. For more information, click on adamsfinancialconcepts.com.
Lots of people manage investment portfolios. Just a few can manage a successful portfolio and provide exceedingly great service to their clients. Here's Mike Adams from Adams Financial Concepts.
We believe the price you pay should be based on the performance of your portfolio and the quality of service you receive.
You know, Mike, it seems that a lot of companies subscribe to the one-size-fits-all mentality of investing. Does one size really fit all?
Not with us. Every portfolio that we manage is customized to fit each particular client's objectives and risk tolerance. We place our client's interests first in all portfolio decisions.
If you're looking for a home for your 7-figure plus investment portfolio, call Mike Adams of Adams Financial Concepts, specializing in creating and maintaining wealth for over 20 years. 206-903-1019. That's 206-903-1019. Or log on to adamsfinancialconcepts.com.
Now we return to About Money. There's more information waiting for you at adamsfinancialconcepts.com. Here again is your host, Mike Adams.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, I'm Michael Prentice. Mike Adams is not with us today, but he should be back next Friday, in case you're missing him. And if you're just joining us, so we're talking about the new Department of Labor regulations, specifically how broker-dealers are worried that being forced into a fee-based model on IRA accounts could lead to less service for the lower and middle market accounts and leaving lower income Americans with no access to advice. The problem with that, though, is that it hasn't really been addressed too much in the public hearings, is that they're actually putting themselves in a catch-22 with this opposition, because legally they can't provide advice unless they conform to a fiduciary standard. The 1940 Act is a clear law. If you are giving advice for compensation, you have to register as an advisor. So by making this opposition, they're saying that they should already be registered as advisors, the very thing that they are trying to prevent happening. So they've kind of, as the lines have blurred and they've moved into this, out of the stockbroker role and into more of a full-service financial services, they're still trying to avoid being registered as an advisor and still being products only. But there has been some creation of some hybrid things where they've started offering financial planning. They have planning software where they're providing more advice. But according to the law, they're technically not supposed to be doing this. And the biggest problem with it, though, is that the Department of Labor and FINRA and the SEC, who regulates the financial industry, haven't really been able to police this or to kind of enforce it. They haven't really had the funding to go after it. And so it's kind of just gone to the wayside, and it's created a lot of confusion for the consumers as to what kind of a role their financial advisor really plays. Now, and I do agree that it could limit the level of advice that is available to some investors. But at the same time, I think it could create more opportunity in the robo-advisor field. You know, some of these smaller accounts get dropped by their brokers. I think that their options are going to be to go into a robo-advisor. And I actually think it's funny that broker-dealers are concerned with this being an issue, because I know a client that was with a big brokerage house. I won't name any names. The brokerage house has a $250,000 minimum to be one of their clients. Now, this particular client came in. He had more than the $250,000 to become a client. During his course of time while he was there, his quote-unquote advisor on his account put him into some investments that had lost some money, and his account dropped below the $250,000 minimum. Now, when that happened, they also dropped him as a client. So nothing on his own doing or anything like that. They're just like, now you don't meet our standards, you don't meet our minimum, so now we can no longer service your account. So $250,000 doesn't seem like it's really providing advice for the smaller and lower income families. But now there's more broker dealers they've set up shops for these to address the smaller accounts. But in the most cases, they're just call centers set up somewhere across the country from you, and you don't actually meet with an advisor face to face. You typically just get whoever is on the other line at the time. There may not be a dedicated advisor to your account. So I say, like, is having a random person at a call center any better than working with a robo-advisor? So in my opinion, if the rule passes as is, it would open up the door for more opportunity for registered investment advisors. It would reduce the conflicts of interest that are currently taking place in the market right now, and it would offer better advice to more investors. And shouldn't everyone want their advisor working for them and looking out for their best interests and not just trying to sell them a product and forget about them like a used car salesman? All right. For now, I'm going to transition now. My guest today is Ian Maddox. He's the CEO and co-founder of Jewel, and we're going to listen to his story right now.
Howdy, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. So, I'm CEO, co-founder of Jewel. We're trying to turn car ownership into a service. The idea is we looked at the means by which people get their vehicles today and the pains of those vehicles, and decided to turn it on its head to make it most convenient for the customer instead of for the salesman.
That sounds great. Let's start with your background.
Sure. So I come about this from tech. I've been in Seattle for about 15, 16 years now, and have worked my way up through several really interesting companies in the area, Big Fish Games and a few others. And after we sold my most recent company, the one I was involved with, decided to set out and solve a problem that had been vexing me for a long time. And so here we are with Jewel.
All right. So where'd you get the idea for Jewel?
So I was a member of an organization called Evergreen Flying Club for a while. They're a nonprofit that owns several airplanes and has a large group of members. We share the resources, and all the maintenance and everything is taken care of. It's really the easiest way to own and maintain a large, expensive resource like an airplane, or there's other companies in the area that do the same thing for boats. After being a member there for a while, I realized we could do the same thing for vehicles or something substantially similar. And so I got to work on the business model, and that's where this came about.
Okay, so when you're talking about the airplanes, how many people own one plane?
So in the case of airplanes, since you don't need to be using it every day, they were able to get away with 3 airplanes to service 60 people.
Okay, so about 20 people per plane.
Yep. Yeah. The twist there was each plane served a different mission. So one of them was best suited for long cross country, whereas the others were better for your what they call the $100 hamburger, the local puddle jumping or training flights, things like that.
Okay. So now with Jewel, is it a similar model with cars? So are 20 people sharing the same car?
Not quite. So with vehicles, we found that our objective is to make sure that people have a car available to them 24/7, and so of course that can't happen if you're sharing one car with two different families or more. So the ratios work a little bit differently. There's slightly more cars than people in our case. But the net effect is the same, and the beauty is that you could be driving, say, a compact car during the week, and when your needs change, when the in-laws drop in unannounced, or when you need to move a sofa or something like that, you can open up your smartphone, summon a replacement vehicle, and one of our valets will bring, say, a pickup truck or a minivan or SUV to your door, take away the old smaller car, and you can drive the temporary vehicle for as long as you need it.
Sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why would someone want to share their vehicle?
So, the idea is really that owning a vehicle outright is it's a beautiful scam perpetuated by the American automotive industry. I love owning a vehicle, being able to customize it. There's a lot of good things that come out of it, but it's also, a 1.5 ton, very expensive, and these days, highly automated computer on wheels. An individual is not really well equipped to maintain those vehicles, even with the modern new vehicles that are rolling off the lines with much lower maintenance requirements. The fact is, you could still spend several hours a year waiting in the dealership, or spend lots of money and time maintaining those vehicles. People think new cars don't require maintenance. Well, that's true until you need to buy a new set of tires for that car.
It's true. I just bought some new ones for my car.
Exactly.
Cost me a little bit there. So your vehicles come with it. It includes everything, right? Repairs.
That's right. So Jewel is is all inclusive. The only things that you take care of are your gasoline and parking the vehicle. So you treat it like you own it. And of course, we can't control how many miles you drive. So you're paying for your own gasoline there. But all the vehicle service, everything else is handled by us. If you are, say, traveling the country, your vehicle gets a flat in rural Idaho and you have to get that towed and patched, there's a debit card in the car that allows you to go down to the local shop and get that fixed on our dime. And you can be back on your way. If it happens in our service area, it's even better. Let's say you get into a fender bender on the highway. You'll call us up. We'll send out the tow truck. But, if you've ever waited by the side of the highway for a tow truck, that's a really dangerous, really stressful experience. We'll dispatch one of our valets with a replacement vehicle. So as long as you're healthy and ready to drive, you can be on your way. And we'll take care of waiting around for the rest of the service to be taken care of.
Okay. Now, would I provide my own insurance for this, or you provide insurance coverage for me?
We're launching our pilot right now, and that pilot includes insurance, but we're exploring options where people can actually bring their own insurance to the table, since some people do value the relationships quite a bit that they have with their existing insurance agents and like their current policies.
Okay. Makes sense. So you have 2 current offerings right now in your program. You want to talk about those?
Sure. So the model that's described for the most part on our website is a month-to-month model where you are free to jump in at any time. The vehicles can be swapped from anything that's available in the fleet, and at the end of 1 month, you're free to walk away. Your net billing ends up being the sum of all the time of the vehicles that you had checked out. So say a Prius might only cost you $17 a day, but a Tesla might cost $45 or more. So your rate can't necessarily be predicted at the beginning of the month. But we're also exploring a longer term commitment. The idea here is this is really just a lease. It's the most flexible lease you've ever heard of. The tech press is calling this type of service cars as a service. But we're really the most flexible lease you've ever had.
Interesting. What's the other program?
The other program is substantially similar, but with a 1-year commitment. We're able to lower prices substantially and bring a little bit more stability to our own fleet as a result.
Okay. Now, if you sign up for the annual program, it's obviously for longer term. So you're gonna have the same car the entire year, or
So in practice, you would, now let's say you got a Nissan Leaf or something like that, you would drive that Leaf for 2-3 months, and then when it's time to service that vehicle.
all right.
you
I'm
swap it
gonna stop you right there because we're coming up to a commercial break. We'll have more with Ian and Jewel when we get back.
About Money will resume in a moment with Mike Adams on Business Radio 1300 KKOL. For more information, click on adamsfinancialconcepts.com.
Creating and maintaining wealth has been the specialty of Adams Financial Concepts for over 20 years. Every portfolio managed by Adams Financial Concepts is customized to fit each particular client's objectives and risk tolerance. The client's interest always comes first in portfolio decisions. Call Mike Adams today at 206-903-1019 or log on to adamsfinancialconcepts.com to check out their AFC performance. They welcome your review. That's adamsfinancialconcepts.com.
PC.
We're back with more About Money. For details on what you hear on today's show, visit adamsfinancialconcepts.com. Now, here again is Mike Adams.
All right, welcome back from the break, guys. Again, Mike Adams is not here today. You got me, Michael Prentice. And I'm here with Ian Maddox of Jewel, talking about his new company of Cars as a Service, as he put it. We were talking about the different types of programs that they're offering. Specifically, we're on his annual program, where it's essentially what you said, a flexible lease.
That's right.
And so if I lease a vehicle, am I stuck with that same... If I sign up and I'm stuck with that same vehicle if I go on the annual program, where you said the month-to-month was more flexible and had access to the entire fleet?
So the annual program gives you access to the entire fleet, but the idea is that you've got a day-to-day vehicle that you always end up with. It may not be the exact same set of wheels, but it'd be the same variety of cars. So if you chose to jump into a group that is primarily 2013, 2014 Priuses, you would end up with one of those each quarter. So we swapped your vehicle out for its regular service intervals.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But you could still, like you said, like if I needed a truck for the weekend.
Absolutely. All the other benefits flow in as well. So, get a truck for the weekend, get a minivan for the family, get an SUV for going camping, or towing the boat. That's a big thing that our customers are asking for us. There's no rental company out there that we're aware of that'll give you a vehicle with a tow hitch and let you pull a boat behind it. But insurance doesn't prevent you from doing so. So we don't either.
All right. Sounds good. Let's get into the fun stuff then. What type of vehicles are you offering?
So our fleet is actually growing based entirely off of customer demand and reliability. So we want to make sure their experience is as good as possible. So we may not be putting a bunch of, say, high maintenance requirement vehicles. It'll be a while before you see a Bentley on our fleet. But on the other hand, the Seattle market, for example, wants small, highly fuel-efficient vehicles, electric vehicles, and mid to upper scale SUVs. And so you're going to see a lot of those showing up for the Seattle market.
Okay. So this sounds a lot like a kind of, it's not really like a rental car type deal, like you said, a flexible lease, though. But how are you guys different from the other ride-sharing company, or car share, not ride-sharing, but car-sharing companies that are available, such as Zipcar, Car2Go?
It's a great question. So unlike Zipcar and Car2Go, we're not renting vehicles. This is actually a lease. So you're not paying a stadium tax. You're not paying for these tourist taxes that we've tacked on to all the rentals, which can drive a vehicle that would the sticker price is $29 a day for go down to Hertz and check out a small compact, but you'll end up paying $50 after all the fees. When we say the daily rate for a vehicle is $15-16, that's what you end up paying for that vehicle plus sales tax. So it's a much simpler approach, and you get a lot more benefits out of it. The other major differences are you park the vehicle in your driveway just like you owned it. If you took a Car2Go home and left it in your driveway, parked it in your garage, you'd find an angry company representative at your doorstep in the morning. So we basically give people the opportunity to have a vehicle at all times, because many people still want that experience.
Okay, so you wouldn't be for the people that only want a car 1 or 2 days a month.
Exactly. We're the alternative to traditional ownership, where you still keep a vehicle 24/7. We actually cater to Uber drivers and other rideshare drivers as well. That, unlike Uber and Lyft and companies like that, there's no chauffeur. You're not paying extra to have somebody drive you around. But at the same time, if you are an Uber driver, your insurance will cover you driving one of our vehicles in their program.
Okay. It's interesting because they don't cover, like, if you get in a wreck and you have a rental car, a lot of their drivers have to stop driving for that period of time.
Right.
Whereas with you, they could just get a new vehicle.
Exactly.
Okay. That makes sense. Why don't we talk about the conveniences of this versus owning a car?
Sure. So the big difference is when your vehicle starts making that funny noise, or you get a check engine light coming on. If in the case of a check engine light, we know instantly. We've got tracking in the vehicles that tells us when there's a maintenance problem. If it's something that the car is not itself aware of, you can open up your smartphone and through just a few taps, let us know that there's something wrong with the vehicle, and we'll have a replacement out there. Lickety-split, so you can be back on the road, not have to deal with the hassle of driving down the mechanic, trying to describe the story of that weird issue with the vehicle, and going round and round in those circles. Anybody who's been in the shop more than once for the same problem can empathize with the amount of hassle that you'd save through a program like this.
Okay, brings me to the next question: is do you have mechanics on staff, or you have partnerships with auto shops around the area?
Jewel has put together a series of partnerships that'll be maintaining all of our vehicles in the Seattle market. Okay.
So you don't do any of your own work or maintenance and all that?
You could just see me underneath the car, right? I mean, I'm that kind of guy, but no, I've got other things to do.
Do you want to talk about what it costs to actually own a vehicle?
Yeah. So, the total cost of ownership is a really interesting thing. We ran a survey recently and asked a bunch of customers and potential customers how much they spend on the vehicle they own every month. And the numbers we got were really interesting. They varied quite a bit depending on the person's situation. People who own their vehicle as outright gave us numbers as low as $0, and some people gave us numbers well above $1,000. And then after asking that simple question, we gave them a list of all the categories of costs that are typically attributed to vehicles and said, which ones of these did you think about? And they ticked off, and frequently people ticked off 2 or 3. It was gasoline, it was insurance, it was their monthly payment, and that was frequently it. Then we asked them again, so taking all these into account, really, what are you paying each month? And the delta is significant. People underestimate the amount of money they spend on their vehicles each month by 50% or more. The fact is, tires, oil changes, those painful experiences of owning a vehicle that you quickly want to put out of your mind, those are the ones that add up, that nickel and dime you, and that make the cost per mile creep up significantly over the years. So Jewel takes all that hassle away from you. We proxy all that stuff so that you just don't have to worry about maintaining it anymore.
All right. So now, if I wanted to, walk me through the sign-up process. But, right now I currently have a car, and I already have a loan for that car. So what are my options, and, how would I go about signing up?
Great. Mike, what are you driving today?
2013 Ford Focus.
Perfect. Okay, so a vehicle like that is actually an ideal vehicle to roll into our fleet. And so if you came to us and said, I got this Focus, I want to join Jewel, but I've already got a loan on my car, we would say to you, hey, no worries. We would love to buy your car off of you. And since we can use it in our fleet, because you've already eaten a little bit of the depreciation, we can actually not only buy that vehicle for its fair market value, but give you some credit on top of that as a thank you for eating some of the depreciation. Roll that vehicle into our fleet, and you can have, once the sign-up process is complete, a vehicle sitting in your driveway in as quickly as an hour. So imagine the experience of a person who wakes up Saturday morning, decides they need to go car shopping. They go online, they're searching all the deals, sitting in their pajamas, and they're girding themselves for that experience of going down to the dealership and dealing with the guy who's drawing the cross table and throwing a bunch of fast numbers at them. and they stumble across the Jewel website and realize that in the amount of time it would take them to drive out to one of those, far-flung dealerships, they could have the entire process completed and never have to take off their PJs. I call that a pretty big win.
Yeah, it sounds like a good deal. Let's talk about the travel. You were talking to me about this, when we met before, about, your future plans and everything else like that, and the convenience that Jewel will create as a member if you're traveling, if you go out of town, you go to the airport, you no longer have to rent a car. Because, you get off the plane, you got to go find the shuttle, ride the shuttle all the way down, wherever their rental car agent is. You got to wait in line. Then you get in line, and then you got to go, go out and find your car. And, the whole process could take, an hour, 2 hours after you've just arrived at the airport. And that's the last thing you want to do is wait around 2 hours to get a car. So tell me how you guys are going to make that better.
Sure. So today, Jewel is just in one city. We're launching our pilot in Seattle, but over the next several months, we're going to be undergoing rapid expansion, and that means we'll have availability in a lot more major metros around the country. And for people who are traveling between two Jewel cities, you could easily drive up to, say, the SeaTac airport, park your car, and for less than the cost of parking that vehicle for one day, summon one of our valets and say, I'm at SeaTac, I'm heading out on a flight. They'll come take your vehicle away, and then you can arrange to have another vehicle waiting for you at the pickup lane on the other end, not rent another vehicle. You're just continuing your subscription in that remote location.
That's great. So you can just walk out, grab your bags, and just be like, the car's just waiting for you right there at pickup?
Absolutely.
Oh, that makes life a lot easier, doesn't it?
It certainly does.
So you said, you're in a pilot launch.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me, you're in the third stage, I believe? The third wave?
We've filled our third wave. We're on our fourth wave now. So our first vehicles hit the road here very soon, and we're rolling out subsequent waves each month for the rest of the year. So anybody who signs up today should expect to get their vehicle in December time.
Okay. So if I wanted to sign up, where do I go?
You can go to www.gojewel.com. Jewel is spelled like the unit of energy, Joule.
Okay. And how long did you say the process takes?
So today you can sign up for the pilot in under a minute. And as soon as we're all up and running and people are able to self-service, it should take no more than an hour to get you up and running.
What does it take to sign up for the pilot?
So our drivers need to be age 21 and over, good driving record, and live in the Seattle area.
All right. Well, thank you very much for being on the show, Ian. It's great talking to you.
Thank you very much.
Great learning about this company. We're going to head to break right now, and then we'll be right back.
Just a few can manage a successful portfolio and provide exceedingly great service to their clients. Here's Mike Adams from Adams Financial Concepts.
We believe the price you pay should be based on the performance of your portfolio and the quality of service you receive.
Mike, it seems that a lot of companies subscribe to the one-size-fits-all mentality of investing. Does one size really fit all?
Not with us. Every portfolio that we manage is customized to fit each particular client's objectives and risk tolerance. We place our client's interests first in all portfolio decisions.
If you're looking for a home for your 7-figure plus investment portfolio, call Mike Adams of Adams Financial Concepts, specializing in creating and maintaining wealth for over 20 years. 206-903-1019. That's 206-903-1019. Or log on to adamsfinancialconcepts.com.
I get a DUI.
About Money continues. Remember the website, adamsfinancialconcepts.com. Here's Mike.
All right, welcome back. We're talking about money. As again, Mike Adams is not here today. I'm Michael Prentice, and kind of run the show today. I just want to talk about 3 months ago, there was the whole push for the $15 minimum wage, and everything got approved. In the wake of all that, Gravity Payments and CEO Dan Price decided to do their own increase in wages. And based off of a study that went out that said that more people's financial issues and stresses will go away and they become happier once they make a certain amount of money. And that amount was $70,000 a year. And the study shows that when people make above that amount, their happiness level doesn't really increase by all that much. So Dan had the idea to pay all of his employees $70,000 a year as their base salary. And to do that, he gave up his own salary for the year to be able to pay everybody else. And he's basically making the same as all of the rest of his employees. And it was a progressive thing, just like the $15 an hour minimum wage, as in they didn't start to go $70,000 the day after he announced it. It's over a couple year, 2 or 3 year process. There's an article I read today in the Seattle Times about the effects that has had on Dan and on Gravity Payments, and kind of the fallout and some of the backlash that is coming through that didn't really foresee going. They got a lot of press when this happened, when he announced this, and they have been just bombarded with different inquiries and everything else. And some people asked if they got an influx of applications, which has happened. They even had a Harvard study is even being done on them based off of this idea that he had. But some of the fallouts that they talked about from this wage increase is that they lost some clients, some of their loyal clients and everything else, because they thought that the level of service that they were going to get would go down. They didn't like the idea, or they felt like he was setting a precedent that other companies were going to have to follow, and they didn't think that was going to be fair. But he's also gained a lot of new clients in the process who liked his ideas and want to be working with somebody that's in that sense. He also upset some of his colleagues for the same reasons, that he's kind of setting a precedent and that people don't feel like it's fair to be able to have to pay all of their employees that high of amount of money. But the biggest thing I think for him is that he lost some very good employees. And the reason for that is that you lose the separation in your workforce. And I think this is the same thing that I've been kind of saying for the whole $15 an hour minimum wage in the fast food industry that's kind of gone crazy for the whole nation, not just in Seattle. But there's a lot of people trying to lobby and petition that fast food workers deserve $15 an hour minimum wage. But right now, the minimum wage in Seattle before they passed the whole law is now it's $11, but it was $9.79 around that. So a crew member, like an entry-level worker, made $9 and some odd cents. Then you have your shift managers and your managers and all that. And a shift manager at a fast food place maybe made $11 or $12 an hour. Well, now if you give them all $15 an hour, what are you paying your shift managers and your managers? So, and Dan is seeing the same concept, is that all of your new hires that you're bringing in that are going to be making that higher wage are getting paid the same as your people that have been there with you for the last 5-10 years with the company. And so some of the employees that left is because they don't feel like it's fair that somebody new coming in off the street can get paid the same amount as them, who's put in their time, they put in their hard work, and they've put in their sweat into this company, and they just don't feel like they're being appreciated by not getting that much. But then you also have the people who are making the lower salaries. Because some of these people, like you have an administrative assistant that now makes $70,000 a year, who may have been making $35,000 or $40,000, and then you have people that were, programmers that might have been making, $50,000 to $60,000 a year that are also now making $70,000 a year. So they feel like they have more responsibility and they're doing a lot more work for the same amount of pay as somebody else. And so this has made them want to leave. The other thing I see as a problem like I see that being a problem in fast food too, because I'm like, if you're going to pay all of your crew members, your entry level workers, a $15 an hour minimum wage, like what are you going to have to pay your managers? And a lot of these companies are, especially fast food restaurants who are only working on a 3 to 4% profit margin to begin with, aren't going to be able to afford to pay their managers, $20, $25 an hour, which is what most people are probably going to want, because they're going to want some kind of separation from that $15 an hour. And if there isn't that gap, so if they're going to pay their workers $15 an hour, but they can't afford to pay their managers higher, and they only pay them like $15.50 or $16, what is their incentive to want to move into management, to want to work harder and move up in the company if they're not really going to be making, they're going to take on more responsibility, but not really increasing their pay? And the other issue with this is that there's no motivation to improve. Because if you're making that kind of money, and I worked in the casino industry for over a decade, and we saw this a lot, especially with dealers, is that you go in there and you make X number of dollars. I mean, it's a little different because there's tips involved, so your income could fluctuate a little bit, but for the most part, you made an average amount of money. And that didn't really increase or decrease from year to year. You made about the same kind of thing. So if you're in a job that's paying you $70,000 a year, what is your motivation to try to improve and increase your skills and maybe move on to another company or to move up when you're going to have to take a decrease in pay? So a lot of these people are they're just going to get comfortable, and they're going to kind of get lazy, and they're going to fit into this role, and they're really not going to be motivated to move into another job, to take a lesser paying job that could essentially move them up in the world. And we saw that a lot in the casinos, is these dealers that make, $60,000, $70,000 a year, with the skills that they have, they'd have to start over in another field where they might make entry level work of $30,000 or $40,000. Who wants to take that step back and take that kind of a pay decrease, even though, in 10 years, the dealers are still making that $60,000 or $70,000, and somebody that went the other route might be making, $80,000 to $100,000. It's still hard to make that step back and go down to a lesser pay. So it makes your employees less motivated to try to improve their skills and to try to learn more if it's not going to reward them and pay them for more money. So having higher wages isn't always a positive thing, and having everyone making the same amount of money can have negative impacts on, your company and what's going on, and you can lose quality workers in the process. And that's going to be our show today, folks. I want to thank everyone for joining us. I want to thank Ian for being with us today, and we will be back next Friday. Mike should be back, so we will see you next Friday. Have a good afternoon.
You've been listening to About Money with Mike Adams, a registered investment advisor. If you'd like more information about what you heard today, or about Mike's investment philosophy and strategy, or if you want Mike to evaluate your own portfolio, click on adamsfinancialconcepts.com. That's adamsfinancialconcepts.com. The information shared on the preceding program was for educational purposes only, and any investment advice given may not be suitable for all investors. Join us again next Friday afternoon at 3 for more About Money with Mike Adams, here on Money Radio 1300 KKOL.
The preceding program was sponsored by Adams Financial Concepts. Creating and maintaining wealth has been the specialty of Adams Financial Concepts for over 20 years. Every portfolio managed by Adams Financial Concepts is customized to fit each particular client's objectives and risk tolerance. The client's interest always comes first in portfolio decisions. Call Mike Adams today at 206-903-1019 or log on to adamsfinancialconcepts.com to check out their AFC performance. They welcome your review. That's adamsfinancialconcepts.com.
What if we got rewarded for every good decision?
Dinner. Meal needs a vegetable. Check.
Amazing!
Vegetables cooked with a healthier oil instead of butter?
Fantastic!
Replacing bad fats with healthier fats like those in canola or vegetable oil is good for your heart. Take up the challenge for good health because the you of the future will say,
Fantastic!
Visit heart.org/face the fats. Canola Info proudly supports the American Heart Association.